Today, let's talk about one of the weirdest, most bizarre, and most interesting of the dark passages of Scripture. That one is in 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 23. Elisha, who's just succeeded Elijah as the prophet to Israel, is going up from there to Bethel. So he's going from Jericho to Bethel. And while he was up on his way, some small boys came out of the city and jeered at him, saying, "Go up, you bald head! Go up, you bald head!" And he turned around, and when he saw them, he cursed them in the name of the Lord. And 2 she-bears came out of the woods and tore 42 of the boys. From there, he went on to Mount Carmel, and from there he returned to Samaria. You're thinking, doesn't this deserve a little bit of comment? I mean, is this just like a normal part of a typical prophet's journey in Israel? Well, no, it's not normal. It's really, really strange. So what on earth is going on here? Well, as with a lot of things in the Bible and other ancient texts, context is key. If you don't read the context, this passage makes no sense at all. So what's the context? Well, the context is Elijah, the great prophet of Israel, is retiring, right? He was just taken up in a whirlwind by God, and Elisha comes to replace him. So Elijah gives a double portion of his spirit to Elisha, and Elisha comes back across the Jordan into the Holy Land, and now what is he going to do? Well, we know all about the miracles and things that he does, but that's not what he does first. First, he goes to the sons of the prophets at Jericho. And those guys, this is in chapter 2, verse 15, they recognize that the spirit of Elijah rests on Elisha. They come to meet him and they bow down before him. They acknowledge Elisha's prophetic authority. However, when Elisha goes from Jericho to Bethel, and he had just been in Bethel back in the first part of chapter 2, when he goes back to Bethel, what happens? Do the sons of the prophets come out and say, "The spirit of Elijah rests on Elisha," and bow down to him? No. Instead, it says these small boys came out of the city to meet him. And this is very interesting because what's going on is our author is actually insulting these people by calling them small boys. This is not the normal word you use for men. And yet, the word could be used for young men, but even there, we get the word small, ketanim. So these are small boys, but they're not really small boys. What these are, if you go back to chapter 2, verse 3, these are the sons of the prophets at Bethel. Those guys had recognized Elijah's authority as a prophet, but they don't recognize Elisha's authority. In fact, they insult him. And if you read very, very carefully about going down and going up, you'll notice that Elijah and Elisha go down to Bethel in chapter 2, verse 2. And then when Elisha approaches Bethel, these small boys come out from the city and say, "Go up, you bald head." What are they telling Elisha to do? They're telling him to go up to Bethel and worship at the shrine to Baal, the false god. So they have changed their allegiance from Elijah and Elisha to the false gods. Okay, they've changed their allegiance from the true God to the false gods. And they're mocking Elisha and saying, "You have no prophetic authority, and you ought to go up and worship at the sanctuary at Bethel, the sanctuary of Baal." So then what about the insult of baldness, though? This seems really odd. No one else in the Bible is insulted for their baldness. What's going on? I think what's going on is that Elijah's authority, and this might sound strange, is associated with being hairy. If you go back to chapter 1, verse 8, it says, "He wore a garment of hair with a belt of leather about his waist." So Elijah is hairy, he wears a hair garment. And so when the prophets of Bethel come out and they tell Elisha, "Go up, bald head," they're saying, "You have no prophetic authority over us. You don't have the spirit of Elijah. We're not going to obey you. We're not going to bow down to you." And so Elisha, not being one to shy away from a confrontation, curses them with his prophetic authority. And through his curse, these she-bears come out of the woods and they bite these guys. Okay, so this is a kind of divine vengeance against the rejection of the prophet's authority. So Elisha then turns away from these guys, goes to a different place, but he's demonstrated that he has true prophetic authority because even the animals will obey his curse, right? Even the animals will obey his voice and do what God has commanded. Now, the other thing to note, though, is it doesn't say that the she-bears actually killed them all. It says that they tore them, okay? So maybe they killed them, but maybe they just bit them, taught them a lesson, that they ought to respect the authority of God's new prophet who's inheriting the mantle of Elijah. Now, I have to thank an article from Joel Burnett in the Journal of Biblical Literature from 2010 for a lot of help on how to understand this passage. And I hope that sheds a little bit of light on this dark passage of Scripture, and I hope that you'll check out my book, Light on the Dark Passages of Scripture, by Mark Gieschek. You can find it at Amazon.com. Thanks.